Haifaa Mansour, your movie Wadjda is this precious story of a little 10-year-old girl who all she wants is a simple dream, a little bicycle. So we're talking about Saudi Arabia, where movies are banned, or movie theaters are banned anyway, and women, of course, don't have the vote. There is still repression, and you've chosen this innocent, perky, unflaggingly optimistic young girl to kind of envision a new world, right? Because she has a new dream.
Yeah, of course. And for me, yes, Saudi Arabia is changing, it's opening up, and there is room for art, and that is why we were able to film in Saudi Arabia. And for me, it is very important to work within that frame and push people to be more tolerant, more open, and widen the margins a little bit for art and self-expression and all that. Yeah, so that girl was, and having a child gave me a lot of like freedom as a writer. So I can say things, they always take things, and they don't take things for granted, and they have this fresh look into things that sometimes we as adults were just programmed to accept. So yeah, and Saudi is also very segregated as a country. So for me, just like to have a child like that will allow me. I cannot film in the streets as a filmmaker. I cannot go outside with a camera with the crew and be there because women are not expected to be outside. So it would be easier. It was easier for me to have a child who can run and who can be free a little, and I can film her to show a little bit of the country and to show the feel of being in the streets.
Well, why is she so optimistic? Is it just the innocence of youth? Because she certainly sees evidence of the repression around her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that is the way she is, and I think it is very important to empower people who love life and who will never give up. I wouldn't say she's optimistic only because she's in that part of the world. No, I think maybe she was optimistic because she wanted something, and she didn't acknowledge the limitations. She didn't concentrate on the limitations.
Now there's an enormous irony in this movie, and that is the method that she comes up with to get the money to buy the bike is entering a Quran recitation contest. Now, why that is, I think, significant all the more is it really is the Quran, as you point out in the movie, that is it's from that religious doctrine that the repression is justified against women, right? So for her to use Quran recital to make money to overcome female repression is deliciously ironic, isn't it?
I think so. But for me, I cannot talk about Saudi society without talking about religion. Religion is a really big part of everyday life, and for me, I wasn't trying to make a comment of how devoted people are, if they're faithful, if they're not faithful, but as much as what is the role of what religion, how people use religion in every day when it is present like this, tangled with everything, is like how people position themselves next to it, how they use it, not use it, and I felt it's very interesting, and it creates really interesting situations, like the contest, for example, on the bicycle, and that was for me, yeah, more explains more the culture than if it was like only like I talked about how if people are really devoted or faithful or not. Yeah.
Now this movie has an upbeat ending, so that tells us that you are optimistic about the future.
Yeah.
What strides have been made in, let's say, the last 5 to 10 years, and what do you see coming up in the next few?
I think people will be really Saudi will change a lot because there is a huge a shift in Saudi, like when it comes to access to information. We have internet. It's a young country, so people will, and 65% of the population below the age of 25. So those people grew up with internet, and they grew up traveling. They have access to the world. Saudis are rich, so they travel in summer. They go and see Europe, and they go places, and they go back home, and they don't want to abide to that very traditional, very conservative ideologies that sometimes limits them, and they want just to be normal and have some fun and watch a movie, for example. A lot of girls want to drive, and I see a lot of girls now in Saudi also choose not to cover their faces. They still have to cover their hair and all that, but a lot of them choose now not to cover their faces, and that wasn't unheard of 15 years ago. 10 years ago, it was not allowed even in the mall. You cannot walk in the mall with your face shown. So there is so much that's changed in Saudi Arabia.
Now, another surprising thing about your movie is not only did you get official permission to do this movie, but that the investment group behind it includes a Saudi prince, right? So you really have the big okay from Saudi Arabia to make this movie, I guess in a quiet, understated way, right? Because they don't see this as a threat so much as an acknowledgement of a changing world, do you think?
Well, of course it's acknowledgement of a changing world, but I was working within the system. I wasn't with given system. I wasn't trying to have a big okay from a big from a very high authority or something. What I've done, I went to a desk I hired a line producer who did a lot of TV, and TV is very big in Saudi Arabia. And we supplied the script, and we gave them the script, and we asked for permission. And they asked us for another paper and a paper and a paper, and we got the permission because I wrote a script that fits what they want. The censor, like, they have lots of rules, what to do and what to do, what not to do, and I tried to abide by those rules. And then we were trying to find funding, and we went to Rutana, which is Princess Al Walid's company, and they gave us money because he's progressive and he's behind money. But we had to apply, and we have to ask again and stuff like that. So it is more, I felt, there is an opening in Saudi, and I think it's important for people to capitalize on it. It's how much you work. It is not like going to be given to you. It's not going to be, it is there. There is a space. But people, like artists, need to try and push for their art, and they need to work and make it a little bit wider, and that is how it is in Saudi now. And it's an amazing time because there is very few things coming from Saudi. So anyone who has something will definitely find support.
Now, this movie is, I imagine, by necessity, because you're a filmmaker, a sensitive filmmaker, that a large part of it is autobiographical, isn't it? You have your own bike story from when you were a girl, correct?
It is autobiographical. My parents were very nice. They're not like, they're very traditional. They don't speak English, and they're very coming from a small town. But I never felt there are things I cannot do when I was a kid. And I'm one of 12 kids from a small town in Saudi Arabia. Nothing like a very middle class. But this little space at home allowed me to do things when I grew older. Like I felt like I have at least the ability to dream. A lot of girls in my classroom never had the ability to dream, and just because their world is different, because their families are not very supportive. Yeah.
The movie has already opened in some places. Has it been seen in Saudi Arabia yet?
It has been seen on. We did some cultural screenings, and we sold tickets, and we tried to make some kind of like, so people can understand what it's a film like. But no, not commercial release. It will go in theaters and neighboring countries, and it will go on DVD, and people will see it. But a lot of people heard about it, and Saudi Arabia, of course, submitted the film, and people are very excited and very proud, and there is a great sense of ownership with the film. But still, a lot of people are conservatives, and they see like a woman coming and making a film about themselves and about their world is wrong, and women should exist in privacy, and I should go back home and take care of my kids and all that.
Now, you don't live in Saudi Arabia now. You live in Bahrain, correct?
Yeah, but because my husband works there, I go to Saudi.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. I go and visit my mother. So Saudi and Bahrain are very close. There's a causeway, so I go and visit my mother very often.
Oh, okay.
For inspiration. Saudi is an amazing place to tell stories. There are always things happening. So yeah.
Do you foresee an emerging film industry there? I imagine it's inevitable too, just like all media changes in that country, correct?
Yes, I think there will be a film industry coming. It depends a lot on like opening, if there are movie theaters back home or not. But there's a lot of interest in the country because it is such, it's politically is interesting, economically is interesting, and socially has a lot of things to offer. So I think we will see more films coming from Saudi Arabia, and I think Saudi filmmakers go through a lot of interesting situations that are worth documenting.
And what about you? More films from you?
I hope so. My dream is to become a working filmmaker. And not,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. How about an Oscar-winning filmmaker? Does that
Uh,
sound good?
wow, that is amazing. It is such a long like race, and there are so many beautiful films from the world. So
But here
just
you
amazing.
are now. You're in Hollywood right now. You are your movie's being distributed by Sony Pictures Classics. It's being discussed in all the leading media. It's gaining a fast profile, and it seems to be an important movie with an important message and great reviews. I just checked your reviews over at Rotten Tomatoes. You've got like 95% approval rating from the critics. That's astounding.
That is amazing, right? I can't believe it. I keep retweeting that. I keep retweeting every minute, and no, I'm really enjoying the journey and very grateful for everyone who watched the film. And I can't. I'm overwhelmed that people just see you write a story in the middle of your in your room, like in your sofa like this, and you don't know how people will react to it, and you put your heart in it, and just hope one day someone will see the film. And it's amazing that it's moving and going around the world like this.